What's up, guys? And I've tried making this video 2 times. This is my 3rd time making the video. Welcome back to the question. We have the questions and I have the answers, and I want to make a rant/analysis of the show Infinity Train, but I really don't know what to talk about, so I'm just to join the Finish Infinity Train bandwagon because it's a really excellent show that was supposed to have 8 seasons, but it was canceled after 4. Technically, it was canceled after 3, but then a 4th one was released. And I think that it should be renewed because it is one of those shows like Steven Universe, Over the Garden Wall, and Adventure Time that are kids' cartoons that aren't actually kids' cartoons, and Cartoon Network recognized at this time, and that's why it was canceled. One, because there was a death that was, in Cartoon Network's opinion, a little too graphic, which is valid. We just killed that person. And 2, that where the show was heading, it was no longer going to be presentable to kids, but it was more towards teens and adults. And I think that that is the point of the show, as the protagonists are slowly getting older as the seasons progress. And it's not just one protagonist every season, they're new protagonists each season. And so you start off, you have Tulip, who's 13, which I think is like the main demographic of the show, was like middle school age. But then the next season, you have Jessie, who I think is around the same age. But you have a lot more serious topics going on because now Lake, who is this reflection of Tulip, who's now stuck on the train, trying to get off the train, but nobody sees her as an actual person. And this is something that we'll get into later, is that the train, even though it's supposed to be this benevolent, helps you grow and through life and become a better person, it doesn't actually care about the people who are living on the train and what about the passengers who get on there who have to get off. Though they don't really care about that either, but that's a whole other video that you could look up somewhere else. And then you have season 3, which follows the Apex, Grace and Simon, and they're around my age, and I'm 18, and they're around like high school age. And then you have season 4, which is Ryan and Mingy, and they just graduated high school, so they're anywhere between 18 to 20. So I think that is why it is no longer sensible to be a kid's show, and that's part of why Cartoon Network cut it, is because it's no longer sensible to kids, because each protagonist is getting older, and I don't know if that, I feel like that trend would continue because season 5 was supposed to be about Amelia, and Amelia has graduated from college and she is married, so she's anywhere between her mid-20s to her early 30s. And if we looked at her past and go back, and that connects to where she is now, she's definitely the oldest protagonist that we have seen. Well, protagonist, antagonist. The oldest main reoccurring character that we've seen. And so it is, I think it's because it's trying to transcend just being a kid's show to teaching an actual lesson and having a deeper lore, which is what drags us all into it, and what keeps us here is because even though we love the characters and we like making all that fan fiction and everything, there's a deeper lore going down here that we, even though we've learned a lot in these 4 seasons, still know nothing about. And that is why we want it renewed, is because we do want to know more about the train. Because we know the train exists outside of time and space in its own little pocket dimension, and it exists to help you through mistakes and personal and make you grow as a person. But also, as I've said before, it's not a benevolent train. This train, even though it's supposed to help you, does not care if you actually get that help. It cares nothing for the life that's actually on the train, that it made to help these passengers. And in season 4, we see that these passengers are not really treated as people until later on. And I think that's a lot of what we want to see about. And in season 3, learning more about how the train actually works. Well, season 2 and season 3, how the train actually works, is seeing that it's kind of invasive and gross. Like, we don't know who created this train. We don't know why the train is there. I mean, obviously it's how people grow as people, but why? Who wants to actually help random people all around the world? How long has it been there? We know virtually nothing. And if they got the 4 next seasons and the possible movie that was going to come with it, we would maybe learn about this. Or maybe it'd be like Adventure Time and, everything ends, but now we have to have a second series because nothing was answered. We learned more, but we learned nothing. It opened up a whole new can of worms that we know more, but now we know less. We have more questions than answers. And yeah, especially this last season, as they are getting older, and I feel like this last season, even though it's supposed to be a lighter comedic season, had a lot more serious undertones, and I think this has been reflected by the fandom. Is that even though they're like, oh my god, look, it's a gay couple, which by the way, this is so heavily queer coded. This last season, like they're never explicitly gay, and but they are so written to be gay, and it's insane. It's crazy. But it's the fact that a lot of people have picked up that the train is really, really harmful in the way that it basically abducts people for an infinite amount of time. We see Grace and Simon grow up on the train, basically from like little kids to now they're, seniors who, if they never went on the train, would probably be graduating high school by now. And we see that the train is not as benevolent, it's actually very harmful, as because a lot of the fandoms picked up that, even though Ryan and Mingy were able to leave the train, a lot of them are portrayed with this fear of what they witnessed on the train and their fear of never being able to escape. A lot of people saying that, well, now, theorizing that now they're just terrified to be out of each other's presence because leaving the other is what got them into the situation in the first place, and they don't want to go back. And as we know from Jesse in season 2, it is very possible to end up back on the train after you've already gotten off. Though Jesse is a special case because his issue, which was a glitch, as we saw on the season, was that his issue had to do with being on the train, which had never happened before. No one ever went back onto the train because they had a problem on the train. It was always something that the train could solve or could help them solve. But the problem was never ever caused by the train. I think that's another thing that is very intriguing, is that even the train is supposed to help you solve your problems, is not actually doing anything to help you solve your problems except to take you out of the world you're in, so you have time to think about what's going on in your life without having to interact in it. You know how a lot of people who suffer from depression say, well, I wish that I could just like sleep forever. I wish I could just like detach myself from life and just, figure things out. I just want to step away from existence for all. This allows you to actually step away from existence. You still have to, face life or death situations, and you could be there forever, possibly, or until the day you die, possibly. But it allows you to take that step back from society and work on yourself before you re-enter society again. But does not actually do anything to try and help you grow as a person. And even there are multiple cars that try to harm you in some way, kill you, or keep you trapped there forever. And there are multiple monsters on the train that prevent you from leaving until you get your number down to 0 and you can leave once the train has deemed you ready to leave. And so with all of that being said, I definitely recommend this show, even though I dropped some slight spoilers. I definitely recommend it. It's on HBO. And just continue the hashtag, finish Infinity Train, or hashtag the new Infinity Train, because this is a really, really intense show. But I think it's going to be really good as it opens up a lot about mental health and has a lot of good lessons, that it's about having lessons. And while you're learning these really good lessons about mental health and about growth, it keeps up with this really cool lore that I say rivals like Over the Garden Wall. It's really Over the Garden Wall reminiscence, like Over the Garden Wall plus Adventure Time. That's how I would describe it. So, yeah, I don't know what this video became, but I'm very, very happy with it. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes.